Organ donation is a profitable business if you can survive. I saw the ad on this dark web page that I shouldn't have been on. The innocent imagery had a sinister truth. He'll come for you when you're in need, but beware, if you want pay, you will bleed. I was behind on my car payments, and my SUV was about to be repossessed. The unemployment benefits had lapsed and rent was due. I needed cash, and I needed it fast. Sad thing is, I've been in bad shape for a while now. Sold jewelry and hawked electronics to any pawn shop within a 50-mile radius, but I had nothing to barter with. Nothing left to keep me from completely drowning in the misery that I called life, except for my own flesh and blood. I'd heard whispers, chatter amid old 4chan forums, that organ donation on the dark web was one way to get money fast. The street surgeon, the ad said, would willingly take any organs that you could afford to give up and pay top dollar. Most of the time, I'm not one to believe weird ads about back alley deals and dirty money, but in this case, I was desperate. I needed what this guy could offer me. I'm married with a kid on the way. Money is tight, probably a little tighter than I want it to be if I'm being honest. I wish I had never moved to this damn city. We live in a crime-heavy neighborhood, and I was desperate to keep my wife and child safe. I thought if I could get fast cash, we could finally have a better life. The ad said the street surgeon shows up when you need him the most. Maybe this was a sign. I just had to be willing to take a risk. I clicked on the latest sighting, a grainy picture taken near the docks, and felt a shudder run up and down my spine as I saw a white-green smock gleam in the shiny Polaroid. There was no mistaking it. Whoever was making this ad was making sure it looked authentic. Suddenly, a pop-up ad emerged from the corner of the browser, asking if I wanted to set up an appointment. I signed the waiver. I didn't read the terms and conditions. An email came only 1 minute later, no time to second guess. A time and a place, that very night, for the deed to be done. A stipulation to be on time or the appointment would be lost. What did I have left to lose? Just my body. But my family needs fed. I managed to squeeze out a favor from a cousin to drive me where I was told to go, an empty parking lot on the south side of town. You want me to just leave you here? They asked. They didn't understand what I had come here to do. I only had a few dollars to my name and gave it to them for gas money. I kept repeating that mantra, nothing to lose, everything to gain. My cousin reluctantly took the money and insisted I keep a little change so I could make an emergency call if needed. Then I was alone with only a street light to comfort me. The air in the alley felt thick with regret and dread. As I stood there, shuffling my feet and waiting, my mind wondered if this was just a sick joke, someone luring me out here to kill me. Then I saw the surgeon. They opened an old warehouse door and shouted my name to come as due. Part of me still felt that I was losing my mind, placing my hopes and dreams in the hands of a criminal. When he did appear, I think I found myself choking back a scream. He had not been there in the fog a moment before. He was keeping up appearances to be an urban legend, and his smock smelled of blood and sweat, enough to make me vomit as I entered the building. Tonight, I anticipated that I would be tortured beyond measure. A short explanation was given to me, followed by the most excruciating pain in my life. The surgeon asked why I was there. I told him I was a desperate man with nowhere else to turn. I looked down at my feet, shaking like a twig, then up again to be startled by the appearance of 2 nurses that strapped me down. No anesthesia was going to be used. Why would it be? There was nothing important about me except extracting my organs for some paying customer. Then I saw the door behind me open again, and the surgeon called another name. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't anticipate that the person I was giving my organs to would be here as well. They were on a table alongside me, and clearly from the other side of the tracks, a life that I only dreamed about. The surgeon was careful with them, making sure that they had the proper medicine before the procedure began. "So that's what this is? You're selling our skin to these fat pigs?" I shouted. The surgeon and his team seemed amused. Poor people are always the ones that come to our doors, and the rich are the ones that don't want to leave a paper trail. They just want to live longer, and they'll pay any price for that, even if it means taking life from someone else, he said. The nurse took a scalpel and cut across my stomach. I felt the cold blade and screamed. They stuffed a rag in my mouth. "This is what you wanted, isn't it?" The surgeon laughed. I watched as they began to take out my pancreas. I could feel their hands pushing aside my intestines, and the second nurse was using a suction device to keep me from bleeding to death. I wanted to black out from the procedure. This is what I signed up for, I thought miserably as I writhed in pain. I told myself it would all be worth it for the payday that waited at the end. The surgeon held the organ up and playfully showed it to me as I shook in agony. Then they began to place it in the paying client. Their medicine had already put them to sleep, and they were ushered out of the building with little concern. I was alone in a dark room again, thinking that I was proud of myself for pushing through the pain. Then the door opened again. A second client came in, this one as blind as a bat in a wheelchair. I tried to shake my head and tell them I was done, but the surgeon didn't care about my needs. Instead, they took their tools and forced my eyelids open. A needle forced its way into my pupil as I writhed and shouted for them to stop. I couldn't see anything for the next few moments, but I could feel them pulling at my eyes, the nerves of my optical cortex pulsing again and again until at last I felt a sharp blade cut them in half. I was blind in one eye, permanently scarred by this brutal criminal, and the blind client eagerly accepted my organ like a child waiting for a new shiny toy. I gasped and shook more and more, trying to get the attention of the nurse, but there was one more procedure to be done. The final client needed a new hand, theirs lost in a war or a gunfight from long ago. I never got the details. It was clear, though, that they had paid millions for the surgeon to amputate my hand, and I was powerless to stop the madness as the blade cut through my skin and another part of my body was taken away. It was so excruciating that I finally blacked out. When I did wake up, I was in the alleyway, stumbling and trying to cling to what little life I had left. I used the money my cousin gave me to call him. When he came to get me, he insisted I needed to go to the ER, but I kept shaking my head no. I had to keep pushing if I was going to get what I wanted. I stayed at his place that night, recovering from the life-altering surgery. Without my right eye and my left hand, I felt like I was going to die. Somehow I survived, and then, best of all, I got a notification that my payment was sent. At last, my family could start a new life. My wife was horrified when she saw what had happened to me. She was angry and left for her parents. She couldn't believe I had done something so crazy. I tried to explain it was for our future, but she didn't want to listen to me. She claimed I lost my sanity and my morality. All my work, all my sacrifice. It felt like it had been for nothing. The only thing left was anger and rage toward the surgeon. So I have booked another appointment, this time using that dirty money I just got from him to request my organs back. I'm an idiot for thinking this change would alter my life. All it's done is reveal an ugliness about the world that I should have seen all along. Your name is Dylan. Dylan Richard Thomas. I knew that the person on the other end of the chat was just trying to scare me, but I wasn't going to be frightened so easily. This whole thing started as a dare less than a week ago. My best friend Cal told me that if I could prove that this psychic was fake, he would pay me $100. Even now, our conversation was fresh in my mind. All psychics do is read the room. They pick up on body language, different tells that people have. It's just a different form of communication. Plus, you can't tell me in this day and age they don't do background checks on all their clients, I told him. The whole world is just a click away. I bet I could go on your browser history right now and find out things about you that nobody else ever knew. Cal was the type that couldn't turn down a good bet, so he decided to call my bluff. Go online, talk to the psychic, and you will see that this one is the real deal. It really changed my whole life, Cal told me. Of course, he had a few requirements before I logged on. You've never been on the dark web before, so I'm going to set you up a brand new connection. That means no traceable data that will link back to your old hard drive. It's for your own protection anytime you're online, you know, Cal told me. I rolled my eyes, but didn't object to anything that he wanted to do. I figured this would be the easiest $100 I've ever made. About an hour later, he had created a dummy email, provided me a private connection, and told me where to go to find the psychic. How can I be sure that you won't give him the heads up? You whisper all my secrets and this bet would be lost before we even begin, I pointed out. Cal agreed to let me hold on to his cell and his laptop to prevent him from contacting the psychic and told me I had 24 hours. Don't make excuses, just do it. I told him I would. Honestly, the whole thing felt like it was going to be a walk in the park. I've been able to pick up on scams and cons for as long as I can remember. It's partially the reason that I got myself into the work of risk management at our business. There was no way this psychic would pull a fast one on me. That night, I got online as promised and made sure everything was secure. According to the network that Cal had made, my fake name was for a woman. Clever misdirection, I thought. I typed in the website address and found myself waiting in a silent, almost dead chat room. Maybe I had come at a bad time? Then a small camera popped up and a message requested if they could turn on their webcam. I knew that meant they hoped I would turn on mine as well and likely try to read some body cues I subconsciously gave off, so I declined and kept on the text chat. I'm a private person, I typed out. It was a flimsy excuse, but if they were as talented as Cal claimed, it wouldn't be an issue. Of course, I understand. My apologies. Call me Mr. Marvin at your service, the psychic responded. The pleasure is all mine, I said. So tell me, what brings you to my neck of the woods? Marvin asked. Baiting for information was a sloppy tactic. I knew most people would likely fall for that right away. You tell me, I answered with a soft smirk. Marvin didn't miss a beat either. Feisty, are we? I suppose that is fair. But clearly you didn't come here by mere coincidence. Someone guided you here. It's not like I pass out flyers. All right, enough is enough. If you're as psychic as you claim, then do a cold reading. I don't have all night, I told them. Marvin wasn't about to be underestimated, so he typed exactly what I didn't expect. My name. For a second, when I saw Dylan Thomas appear on screen, I panicked. It wasn't possible, but I wasn't going to let on that they were right. I still wanted to prove my point. Is that it? I asked. You're not giving me much to work with. Do you think being a psychic is like magic? They responded. I decided to stop pretending and be blunt. I think it's like being a con artist. You cheat people into believing your lies just to make them feel good, I said. So tell me how you really feel, Marvin said. Look, it's clear that you aren't going to really prove to me that you're a psychic, so just drop the act. I'm going to screenshot this and end the conversation. Before I give my reading? Marvin asked. Are you even going to? You've been beating around the bush forever now, I typed back. It's fine to be frightened, you know. Sometimes there are things that you simply can't control, he said. It suddenly felt like the tone of the conversation had changed. I'm not scared, just a born skeptic, I replied. Because of what happened with your mother? This time, I couldn't even respond. I literally stood up and shut off the computer, pacing the room. Impossible. It was impossible that he knew anything about that. There had to be an explanation. I went to Cal the next day, demanding an explanation. So they got to you, did they? He said with a chuckle. This isn't funny, man. I want to know what's going on. How did they know about my mom? I asked. Now Cal was the one that was a bit disturbed. Whoa, that was like 15 years ago. There's no way they could have found that information online, he said. Did you say something? I asked. Dude, you have my cell and laptop. I pushed past them and checked their small apartment, turning over cushions and trying to find anything to prove they had accessed the internet. What are you going to do now? Cal asked as I finished my search. I stormed past them, using my cell phone to access the site again, demanding answers from Marvin. I was wondering where you went, the psychic texted. I need to know what you know about my mom, I typed back. I suppose from your point of view it would be considered magic, Marvin answered. I texted back as fast as I could, getting into my car. My mother died because someone was stalking my family. I changed my name to get away, so don't play games with me. You need to tell me what you know. There was a short pause as I drove down the main road, then my phone pinged. I know everything about the real you, Stephen. My birth name. I nearly had a wreck as I swerved to avoid traffic, my heart racing and filled with panic. I could hardly breathe. I got home and locked every door. Marvin wasn't about to go away though. Just like me, he wanted to prove a point. Did you really think that this was all coincidental? First, your friend somehow has a cold reading on a dark web psychic page and then dares you to do the same? My hands felt colder than ice. It couldn't be the same person that had been stalking my mother. How did you find me? I asked back. I've never stopped looking for you. You have to understand, the moment your mother died was the end of my life. I lost you, my chance at happiness. I sacrificed everything to find you again. The messages were becoming more persistent as I heard noises outside my house. Someone was there. I've studied you, Stephen. I know that you lost your faith when your mother died. You don't believe in psychics or God or anything, Marvin said. By the time I'm through with you, though, that will change. One of my windows shattered, a dark figure entering my house. I did the only thing I could think of and ran to my bedroom, locking that door as well. I had no means of protection, nowhere to run. I thought maybe the key code on the door might keep them away. But a few simple finger strokes and I was face to face with the stalker that had killed my mother and driven me to hide for the past decade. Marvin smiled, seeing the fear in my eyes as I trembled. What happens now? I asked, barely able to catch my breath. My blood ran cold as he closed the door, keeping me from running as he responded. I'm no psychic, but I'm betting this is the part where you die. I grabbed the closest object I could find and bashed him over the head. I had survived his attempt to hunt me down. I called the police and told them what happened. Then I contacted my friend. There was one answer I needed that still didn't satisfy me. You were a part of this somehow. You knew about my stalker. Cal, how did you know? I asked them. Some people don't need a psychic reading to figure out. You seem like an easy mark, he said with a shrug. I should turn you over to the cops, I said, but it was my word against his. I hated that he had conned me to be his friend and then lured me to my stalker. If I learned anything at all, it's that I couldn't trust anyone.